that he doesn't have to worry about the fallout because there's only polling at 6%. So nobody's, they'll just go, oh, that's just Mad Max. So I think it would be wonderful to see him stand on that stage and ask him questions that he knows they don't want to hear, the media won't ask, and the rest of us are screaming at him to ask. I've been in that position myself, not as a member of running for elected office, but during my time in the media, on several occasions, I was able to corner politicians who couldn't run away and ask them questions they didn't want to answer and keep at them until they admitted they couldn't answer it, or, it was obvious that they were ducking and weaving and everybody knew it. So he plays that role, and I think that's a very important, healthy part of our democracy. And unlike Joseph, I have a big problem with the Bloc, because the Bloc, if they get what it wants, would just literally destroy, if not disfigure, the country. And, I spent too long in the Queen's uniform to watch somebody pull apart something I vowed to protect with my life if necessary. Right. So I have no time or patience for the Bloc itself.
Right,
I respect
Nick,
democracy. What?
But Nick, going back to wearing the uniform and taking the Queen's shilling, as the saying goes.
The saying goes, yeah.
Even in the British Parliament for years, the Ireland elected, prior to Irish independence, the Republic of Ireland anyway, that the Irish voters were electing Irish nationalists to the British Parliament.
Yeah, well, the Scottish were too.
I'm sorry?
The Scottish were too.
Right, except that the Scottish, were not agitating for. Well, yeah. Now that you mention it, actually, they are the Scottish National Party does have Scottish independence as part of its platform. So this is it's not unprecedented, and this is part of the thing that democracy is a little messy. And who am I to say that voters in Quebec City can't elect members of Parliament that would like to, in the first instance, that are going to fight particularly for the interests of the people of Quebec, and perhaps more broadly speaking, are going to advocate for some degree of independence. I don't really have that big a problem with it. I know it sticks in people's throat in this country, but as I say, I just personally don't have that big a problem with it. But the idea that you're going to say that the People's Party doesn't have a place at the table in a national debate when they're polling 5 and 6% in popularity, but the Bloc Québécois that doesn't even run a candidate outside of the province of Quebec, that they're going to have a place at the national English.
And I agree with you.
That to me,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense. Forget about whether whatever the rules. Okay, just forget about the rules for a second. Just as a common sense measure, to me, it doesn't make sense. Lyle, we've completely taken over
I had
the
a quick follow up. If you would allow me a quick follow up.
Yeah, sure.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right, thanks. I'm actually kind of into politics. I watch the rounds of the politicians going around and their tours right now. I think, in my opinion, Max Bernier actually answers questions to people. Like he goes to, a public speech or something, and he actually takes questions from media. He actually, interacts with people. And, he seems like a generally, good guy to actually talk to. And, maybe he's got an answer for you or something like that. Maybe he doesn't, but at least he talks to you. And I saw this video today from Rebel News where they were some Indigenous protesters were blocking Justin Trudeau's bus. And they actually had to evacuate him via a helicopter after the bus was basically blocked by a bunch of people. And he didn't really, take their questions. He didn't kind of, try to interact with them. And I'm just wondering what you guys think about politicians right now in the election campaign not answering questions from people and certain sources of media.
Nick?
Okay, I'll just waiting to see if he was finished. as far as I'm concerned, the reason they can get away with it is because the media won't press them. They won't, if he goes to a press conference and plug in anybody you want in that, except for, those who have nothing to lose, the Green Party, the PPC Party, some of these other smaller parties, they've got nothing to lose. So, of course, they'll answer questions because they know that in the back of their mind, they know that at least for the next few years, they're not going to be held responsible for the answers anyway. But when you talk about the big three, okay, they run away because the media won't badger them, especially when it comes to the NDP and the Liberals. And the more that O'Toole sounds and talks like a Liberal, the more favor he's going to curry in the, I want to say, lamestream media. The media is just not doing its job. They're not, when they show up at a press conference, they should be coming after them for the questions they didn't answer in the previous one and not let them up until they get some kind of an answer.
Sort of like the way that the media...
And that they have to face.
Sort of like the way the media...
Precisely.
Trump down there, yeah.
Yeah, or Stephen Harper.
Well, look, I don't think that Justin Trudeau is a... I've seen media reports, including what one might characterize as being conservative media here in Canada, because we do have, I don't know if it's fair to say we have conservative media, but we do have conservative columnists and opinion leaders. And I've read on a few columns by some of these conservatives that Justin Trudeau is a great campaigner. But I don't see it. I don't see...
I don't know where they get it either.
Jagmeet Singh, I think, is doing a good job campaigning. I see him sort of with the energy, etc. I agree that Maxime Bernier is a great campaigner. But, I have to say this, guys. The one of the better, two of the best campaigners, number one, Brian Mulroney. Brian Mulroney was great on the stump. He was really great on the stump. But the other guy that was really good on the stump here in Canada was Justin's father, Pierre. Pierre Trudeau was really good at. I remember, I don't recall what campaign it was, and I think it was in Edmonton, and he was facing a hostile crowd out there, and he was up on the stage, and and he was his jacket and tie and everything like that, and he was really having a tough time, and I remember seeing him. He basically, stared the crowd down, and he basically said to them, "Okay, all right, that's what this evening's going to be like. Just hang on a second." And off comes the jacket, off comes the tie, rolls up his sleeves, and basically says, "Okay, now let's talk. Let's get into it." And he didn't have the meeting out of his hand by the time it was finished, but people respected Pierre Trudeau for he was willing to wade into the crowd, and he wasn't afraid to speak his mind. And I don't see
Let
that.
the fur fly.
Yeah, and I don't see that with Justin. And I say this with all due respect to Aaron O'Toole. I don't really see it with Aaron O'Toole either. I see both of these leaders as being very tightly scripted, and quite frankly, it's like Justin doesn't want to say anything. It's amazing that you're the government. You have absolute control over the timing of the election. You call the election, and you don't seem to have a platform to run on. Okay, I find that to be really fascinating, and I think that more than anything else, that is what is harming them. It's not Justin's personality or his campaigning style. I just, if you can't define yourself, you leave yourself open to being defined by your political opponents. And, God bless Aaron O'Toole. You can't make that complaint about him. I think he's totally scripted. I think the script is wonky for a Conservative Party. But, you have to give credit where it's due, both strategically and tactically. I think that they might have stumbled, for better or for worse, on a winning strategy. And heaven help us if they win. and they start to implement some of the stuff that they're talking that they're going to implement. But one thing you can't say, okay, you cannot say that they are leaving themselves open to having their personality and their agenda defined by their political opponents. Trudeau and the Liberals are trying to do that already, and it's just not sticking.
Well,
all right, thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
All right. Thanks for calling. Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Good luck.
Let me ask you a question, Joseph. With what you just said, do attack ads still work? You know, the boogeyman kind of attack ad. You know, Stephen Harper's going to, steal the lollipop out of your kid's hand, and he's going to kill all the kittens and eat them for lunch, that kind of thing. Put troops in the streets. We're not kidding. We didn't make this up. Do those kind of ads still work? Do they still have any traction?
Sure. This is the dirty secret about politics, okay? And advertising. And that is that attack ads actually do work. But it's not black and white. It has to be plausible. Like the people who are watching these ads you have to have something that they're going to listen to it, or they're going to see it and they're going to go, yeah, that's possible. I'm really worried. So attack ads continue to be very effective, which is why everybody says we're not going to do attack ads, and everybody complains about attack ads, and the media always talks negatively about attack ads. But, politicians spend lots of money, especially south of the border, on attack ads because they work. But they don't work in every circumstance. They have to have the right conditions and the right messaging and the right timing for them to work. And then you have to, it's got to be more than just saying it. You have to say it over and over and over and over again. And this is a problem with our electoral system. That is that we have, in our desire to ensure that elections are not bought. Okay, in other words, we don't want money to interfere in our elections or to play a big role in our elections. So we quite reasonably, I support this. We have spending limits and we have contribution limits. Okay, so these are not bad things. And the desire to keep money out of it or excessive money out of it, I think is a very reasonable desire as well. But in our rush to save democracy from big money, we're forgetting that money is the lifeblood of not just politics, but every commercial endeavor in our free market economy. And so you're not just, politicians and political parties during campaigns are not just competing against one another, they're actually competing against, the latest iPhone ads. In the fall, we're going to be competing, right now, we're competing with CFL games, and pretty soon NFL games, and NHL preseason. And then, of course, there's baseball. Okay, so you've got the whole sporting, and there's the Special Olympics on it, if you're interested in the Special Olympics. And then there's, I could go on and on and on. The point I'm making here is that in the States, where they have spending limits, but they're a lot more liberal, if I could use that word, in connection with this, the opportunity to get your message out through advertising, through mainstream ads, television ads, radio ads, etc., the opportunity to actually connect with voters is greater. Here, it's very hard to connect with voters on a consistent basis because you are depending almost exclusively on the mainstream media to get your message across. And that's not an effective way of doing it, not just because you're worried about the prism, the portrayal of your message, and the way it's portrayed and the way it's interpreted by a biased media. And that cuts both ways, whether it's conservative or liberal. So you have that problem. And you have the second problem that even even in the news,